Welcome. We're here to find those surprising bits of knowledge and get you well-informed fast. Today, we're jumping into a really interesting set of ideas. It's all centered around, well, eternal riches and this concept of living in the king's favor.
It's quite a profound theme.
It is. And our sources for this one, they're ancient texts, the Hebrew Bible, the New Testament. So it's a perspective you don't always encounter, offering a unique look at what enduring value really means.
Definitely a different lens.
Right. So our mission, essentially, is to unpack three key questions that pop up from these writings. First, what's actually in it for you? What can you gain if you focus your attention on these eternal riches?
Good question.
Second, how does a connection specifically to a higher power, as these texts describe it, potentially give you direct access to these riches? And third, and this is where I think it gets really fascinating, how could these eternal riches actually show up, like manifest here on earth in your life?
Yeah, the practical side.
Exactly. Okay, let's dive in. So that first question, what can you really gain from focusing on eternal riches? I mean, we hear riches and instantly, money, possessions, that's where the mind goes.
Usually, yes.
But these sources seem to be pushing for a different take, right? Asking us to think about what lasts versus what's just temporary.
Precisely.
So if eternal riches aren't about cash or stuff, what are we actually talking about? What kind of value is this? And how does that challenge our usual ideas of success?
Well, that contrast is really the foundation here. The sources frame eternal riches as not fleeting material things, but as this inherent permanent value, something that exists beyond the temporary.
Okay, beyond the temporary.
Yeah, it's like investing in something that, fundamentally can't be bought or sold or lost. It's almost a radical rethinking of wealth, shifting the focus away from just accumulating things to something instantly more sustainable. It's about a deeper, a more permanent sense of what truly makes life rich.
That's a really powerful way to put it, separating lasting value from, well, fleeting gains. But, okay, if these riches are eternal, the big question is, how do you get them? How do you even start to access them? Which brings us right to our second point. How does connection and the sources point specifically to God? How does that give direct access?
Yeah, and the texts are incredibly clear about this. Connection isn't just important, it's framed as the actual gateway.
The gateway.
Yes, and it's described as like an intimacy, a really profound relationship, not just, ticking in the box or intellectual agreement.
Yeah.
There's a key passage, Hebrews 11.6, that gets right to it. It says, without faith, it is impossible to please God.
Okay, without faith.
But here's where it gets really interesting. If you look at the original Hebrew context, the word we translate as faith emunah, it's so much more than just belief.
More than just belief. How so?
It carries connotations of like steadfastness, absolute trust, deep fidelity. Think loyalty, reliability.
Okay. So less about what you think and more about how you are, how you act?
Exactly. It's a conviction that sort of permeates your whole being. It shows up in consistent action, in reliance. It's about being fully committed, all in.
Wow. Okay. So emunah isn't passive belief. It's this active, committed trust that really changes how you think about connection.
It does.
It makes much more sense how that kind of deep link could provide access to something so profound. So thinking about emunah in that richer way, what's maybe one practical thing someone could do to nurture that kind of unwavering trust? As the sources imply, I mean, not just agreeing intellectually.
Well, the sources seem to suggest it's about consistent engagement, like actively leaning into that relationship. It's not portrayed as a one-off decision, but more like a continuous posture. Reliance, fidelity, like how you'd nurture any deep, trusting relationship in your life.
So daily practice.
Yeah, it seems to be in the daily, turning towards that connection, even in, small ways. Consistency is key.
Okay, right. So we've got a clearer idea of what eternal riches might mean, this enduring value, and how this active trust, this emunah, is presented as the connection point. Now, let's get practical. Because this is where, like you said, the rubber meets the road. How does all this translate into tangible, real-world impact here on Earth?
Right, and this is where it gets quite compelling. According to these ancient writings, this intimate walk with God isn't just some abstract spiritual thing. It can actually result in, well, very practical, very earthly benefits.
Such as?
Things like clear guidance when you're facing complex situations, maybe unexpected opportunities opening up that seem to come out of nowhere.
Opportunities.
Yeah, or experiencing divine favor in really critical moments, even a deep sense of protection. It really echoes that idea you find in, say, Matthew 6.10, where the prayer is for heaven's reality to influence earth, as if, heaven's way of doing things can be overlaid onto our earthly life.
Bringing heaven's reality to earth, that's a powerful concept. And the source material, sometimes using the original Hebrew name, Yahusha, for Jesus, it's fascinating how the narrative shows this, starting right at his birth. Receiving gold, frankincense, myrrh. Matthew 2.11 describes it.
Right. The gifts of the Magi.
Exactly. And those weren't just, random baby gifts. They were things traditionally given to royalty, to priests. It's presented as a clear sign of favor right from the beginning, even though the circumstances were humble. A really symbolic start.
A very strong symbol, yes.
And it doesn't stop with him. The sources point to other figures, too, people who seem to have found this, let's call it supernatural favor, through that same kind of intimacy with God.
Oh, definitely. You look at someone like Enoch. It just says he walked with God, implying this really deep, consistent connection. And somehow, that walk transformed his whole earthly experience in a way that made him stand out. It suggests a life lived totally in sync with divine purpose.
Just walked with God. Simple but profound.
Then you have Joseph. His story is incredible.
Oh, yeah. Joseph's journey is wild.
Right. Sold into slavery, unjustly imprisoned. Unimaginable hardship. But consistently, the narrative says he found favor with Potiphar, his master, then with the jailer, and ultimately with Pharaoh himself.
Even in the worst situations.
Exactly. The intimacy with God didn't stop the bad things from happening, but it seemed to navigate him through it, leading him eventually to incredible positions of power and influence. He ends up saving a whole nation from famine. It's presented as a remarkable example of favor, even in adversity.
That's a key point, favor in adversity, not instead of it.
Precisely. And then, of course, there's Esther.
Queen Esther.
An orphan, in exile. But through her courage, and again, this unique favor she found, she's elevated to queen. And from that position, she's able to literally save her people from genocide. Her story really highlights how this divine favor can show up in pivotal historical moments, channeled through one person's connection and their willingness to, step up and act.
These are powerful stories. And while they're ancient, the sources seem to suggest they reveal principles that still apply, right? Not just historical anecdotes.
That's the implication, yes.
Yeah.
That these aren't just stories, but illustrations of enduring dynamics.
So thinking about those dynamics, what's maybe the most surprising principle you see running through them? Like beyond just getting favor, is there something deeper connecting Enoch, Joseph, Esther?
That's a really good question.
Is it their attitude, maybe? Or how they acted when things got tough? What's the common thread the sources seem to emphasize for this manifestation?
I think what really connects them when you look closely is this profound sense of purpose they carried, and perhaps an unwavering inner stability, even when everything outside was chaotic.
Inner stability.
Yeah. It doesn't seem to be just about receiving external perks. It's more like an internal transformation happens first. That transformation empowers them to navigate the challenges with, grace and wisdom. The sources seem to suggest that this favor isn't just God handing things out randomly. It's more like an alignment. An alignment that creates opportunities, yes, but also enables wise decisions, and often results in this surprising resilience that can actually turn adversity into an advantage.
So it's about becoming the kind of person who can receive and handle those manifestations wisely.
That seems to be a crucial part of it, yes.
Yeah.
Becoming someone capable of stewarding that favor, that influence, that opportunity.
Okay. Wow. So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, the listener? We've explored what you might gain from shifting focus to eternal riches, this idea of enduring value. We've looked at how connection, especially through that deeper sense of emunah, steadfast trust, is presented as the access point. And we've seen how these riches are described as potentially manifesting in very real, practical, earthly ways, illustrated through these ancient figures.
If you boil it down, the core idea presented in these texts is that a sustained connection, that deep faith, understood as emunah, that steadfast trust and fidelity, that these are pathways to a life genuinely enriched by divine favor and guidance. It's really about recognizing and then choosing to invest in a different kind of wealth, a deeper, more enduring kind that impacts not just your, say, spiritual life in isolation, but your actual daily experience on earth.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. A question, really. If these eternal riches, as the sources describe them, can actually bring aspects of heaven's reality into our earthly life, and if that happens through a consistent, intimate connection, what everyday decisions might start to shift for you? What might look different if you chose to live, as these ancient texts imply, consciously in that presence day by day?